Hare Krishna. My name is Pankajanghri Das. I was born in England, North London, and the question is how we came to Krishna Consciousness. The search began in the around the late 60s, 70s. There was actually a search of an alternative way of life with the young people of that particular time, and many people were looking to India. Indian music was fashionable, Indian clothes were fashionable in the West. So Jananivas, my brother, he had visited India briefly, and then when he came back, he told me how great India was, and we decided to go for a longer period for searching. And so we went overland to India. It took us a few months. We weren't in a hurry, and we travelled around most of India, practically all of India, searching for the truth, peace, God, whatever we call it, light. Jananivas met the devotees in India, in Puri. We knew Hare Krishna because Hare Krishna was a fashionable song at that time. And we actually first saw the devotees performing live in an all-night club in London's West End. But he actually, Jananivas met them and asked them about their philosophy and so he went to Calcutta to take some books from the ashram. And I was waiting for him. We weren't together at a particular time. I was waiting for him in Pujaris. And we were staying in one acquaintance's house there. So then I came in the room one day and I saw one sadhu there with shaven head and saffron. He had his back to me, so I couldn't recognize him. And then I was thinking, what is a sadhu doing in our room? So then he turned around and I said, "It's Jananivas, Hare Bol." Was you Jananivas? I guess he was. He was wearing saffron. So then he preached to me for a little bit, for about a week. He stayed there, and then he went back to Calcutta and Mayapur. I couldn't understand very much. It was pretty dull. And I was also initiated with two other gurus in India, and one was teaching a technique of meditating on your soul, of light within. God is light. That was a common thing, to find the light within. When I returned to England after about almost 2 years in India, I found I'd changed quite a lot, and I didn't want to get back into that regular way of life. And so then I used to visit the temple. At that time it was in London's West End, in Bury Place. And I liked the atmosphere there. I liked the devotees. I liked the prasadam. I liked the Harinam Sankirtan, singing, dancing on the street. I didn't really want to become a Hare Krishna. I didn't want to give up my so-called independence. But as you know, everyone's looking for improvement in their life. Everyone's looking to improve their situation. Everyone's looking for happiness. So I saw that these devotees, they were actually happy, they're actually satisfied, which was like a rare commodity in human beings nowadays. And so that was. I liked everything, but at the same time I was a little still attached to my independence. Well, I met Srila Prabhupada there. He was giving a lecture in a public hall, and It's the first time. And he was reading from the Bhagavad Gita. So while he was reading, I saw something extraordinary. I saw this like a white light was coming from Prabhupada's eyes onto the book. It was just like, you know, pure white energy. And I was thinking, he's got it. He's got the light. That's what I want. He's got it. So I guess, and it happens to many devotees, whatever their goal is in life, their spiritual aspirations, Prabhupada will reveal it somehow or other. Consciously, whether, you know, I doubt anyone else saw it, and I don't think I was hallucinating, but that's what I actually saw. But I think that was just Krishna's way of telling me that, you know, you don't have to look anywhere else. You know, you take shelter of Prabhupada, he'll give you a process that will take you to the topmost planet in the spiritual world. So whatever you want, you can take from this, because it'll take you right to the very top of the center of existence. So whatever, if you want anything else on the way, you can also stop. So it's Krishna Consciousness is complete. It's a very wholesome package. You can take whatever you want from it. And but anyway, that made me appreciate Prabhupada a lot more. Just that short vision. So I was still unwilling to surrender, but I used to visit the temple frequently and stay over the weekend occasionally. And one day I had a couple of experiences I had. One was, I was with my friends, and we were just sitting around, and I was looking at everyone, you know, just one by one. I was looking at everyone, and I thought, hey, you know, I'm different now. I'm different from these people. I don't want to do what they do, and you know, partying and intoxicate, whatever we were doing before. And I felt myself quite apparently that I've outgrown this kind of life. And I put that down to actually getting a higher taste by associating with the devotees. I was chanting Hare Krishna. I used to keep my bead bag and beads in my pocket because I was a little embarrassed to chant publicly. And offering my food. I was already vegetarian by that time. And by association with devotees, then we get a higher taste, a better standard of existence, which everyone's looking for that, you know, the peace and happiness. Still I was reluctant. Then I had a very, very vivid dream that Jananivas and I, we were traveling across this very arid land, and we had one guide, which was Prabhupada. Of course, we weren't initiated then. I mean, Jananivas wasn't initiated, and the guy didn't look like Prabhupada, but in the dream it was appearing to me that it was. So we came across this stream, small river. It wasn't very wide, about 20 feet wide. So he said, I'm taking your brother on my back, I'm taking him across, and I'll come and carry you across. So Jananivas gets on his back and he's taken across. It wasn't even very deep. So he's halfway across, and I say, listen, I don't need you to carry me, I can swim across easy, nothing. He said, no, you wait there, I'll come and bring you. I said, come on, you're an old man. I said, I'm a young man. If I dive in the water, I can come up and touch the other side. It's really no problem. He said, no, you stay, I'll carry you across. I said, no, don't bother yourself. So then I dove in the water. I came up in the middle, and I started swimming. And I couldn't move. I couldn't get there. And I started, what's going on here? I really started to panic a little bit. So I was really going for it, really swimming. I just couldn't move. So I thought, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. So then I turned around to come back, and I couldn't get back, couldn't swim back. Then the current was taking me away. And then I woke up. And then I had a realization, you know, you actually need help. You know, you need someone to actually carry. It's not by our own endeavor we're going to do it. We have to have you got to get help from someone who's already outside. So that was one of the big turning point that I've got to actually surrender, so-called surrender. So then it was just a natural progression. I found myself visiting, associating with the devotees more frequently, and then I was associating, staying in the temple more than I was at home. And it was just like a gradual transition like that, because the devotees were always encouraging me in every way. So then I just more or less phased into it. It was a period of about 18 months before I actually moved into the temple. That was in 1973. Then I was initiated there in the temple. That was they got a new temple outside London, which George Harrison donated, a manor house, and we moved in there when we got that place. Then after about 6-9 months, and then I came back to India. Came back to Mayapur, and I've been there ever since, and living happily ever after. Hare Krishna.
Please start.
Before and after. Well, before I thought I was doing okay in the material world, and I thought the Hare Krishnas were a bit negative. They were saying the material world is a place of suffering, and I thought, hey, life's okay, I'm doing okay. I thought I was enjoying pretty well, we had it, we were 25, 26 years old, and in London, it's a cool place to enjoy. And I thought life was okay. And it took me about 25, 30 years to realize what life's all what actually living in this body is like. The transformation from before and after is very, very subtle. You can't immediately appreciate it. It's like living in a place and there's a tree growing in the garden. You don't really notice how the tree is growing. Well, you don't see your hair growing or your fingernails growing, but after 2 weeks, you've got to cut your fingernails, but you don't actually directly perceive any growth. So I find the best measure, because I don't feel I've changed so much. I liked the lifestyle, because when we joined, it was very austere, but it was very exciting also, because it was a missionary, a mission at that time, and there was a whole world. It was a new thing for the West anyway. So it was exciting, and everyone was into the mission. Everyone was completely surrendered. So it was austere, but it was fun also, And that was part of it. The austerity was part of the fun at that time, because everyone was young. And but changing your generally characters, they don't change very much. Personalities, they don't change hardly. They very gradually change. People don't change, but that's my experience. And but the difference becomes very apparent if I go back now. Because the first time I left Mayapur was like after 15 years straight. Jananivas was like 40 years straight. He never left Mayapur. So when I go back, I have to go back to get a visa, etc. So I go back to, and then I visit my family and things like that. But if I go back to those old haunts where I was, and I see the people, I think, my God, I was doing it. I was living like this. It's so boring. There's no rasa there. There's really nothing happening. It's so dry. I mean, you put on a show that you're sociable and things like that, but it's actually you're actually glad when the time's over and you can actually leave, because there's no offense. I mean, I love my family, but it's so dry. There's no substance in the life. You see, there's no direction, and it's just one TV show to the kid playing to the next cup of tea to just got to fill in that gap when this is a prime time. So it's really quite dry compared with the life of devotions. But you think, wow, man, I was like this at one time, and you can't imagine. So then you realize how much you've actually changed. Is it not? He knows. When he tell him about when you left, because everyone was saying you're really in for a culture shock when you leave, because he hadn't been to the West for 40 years. But he went last year. Did he have a culture shock?
Not with the devotees. Because we were going from temple to temple, so it was like practically everyone's been to Mayapur, all the devotees. So I've seen everyone if I don't know them, at least. But I was quite happy actually that I'd been hearing in America that temples were empty and no one's in. I mean, many temples weren't full up, but there's thousands and thousands of congregational members now. So many programs, outreach programs. I was very much impressed with the Krishna Consciousness in America. The culture shock. I was thinking, God, how can these people ever become detached in America? The women are walking around with little tiny shorts on. There's a fashion, I guess, short shorts. How are men ever going to? How renunciation would ever set in this environment? When every day you see ladies walking around half dressed all day. But so actually Krishna Consciousness is the only solution for everyone. But the philosophical aspect I accepted immediately. They preached to me and I read some questions I had, because I was reading Bhagavad Gita, not Prabhupada's Gita, and I had questions, but when all those questions were answered so perfectly, and everything coincided with my own realizations at that time. It was just completion of unanswered questions, everything that made sense in Krishna consciousness, with Krishna as the person. So I immediately accepted the philosophy. So when I eventually got the opportunity to become a devotee, I was quite happy. This is everything I was looking for. So. And Krishna Consciousness is such a nice program with the process of devotional service. It's something active. It's not like, my ideal spiritual life was Himalayas and Rishikesh, these quiet places and things like that. But here, active, I mean, like we were constructing a city in Mayapur, so it's kind of, it's really, really basic activities. And you can also engage others in these activities. So by doing this, like developing Mayapur, for instance, where we're staying, we're developing the Mayapur. It's the best thing for our spiritual advancement. Simultaneously, it's the best thing for other spiritual advancement. As the Dham develops, more people come, they take the darshan, they read the Janamrita books, they hear the holy name. So it's such a nice process, because it's the best thing that we can do, and simultaneously it's benefiting so many other people. Whereas if you just go and sit down alone and do some meditation or something, you get a little bit benefit for yourself, but not much for anyone else. So Krishna consciousness is so complete, it's so absolute. No, I immediately accepted it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.